Okay, reaction video time, and this is for uh, my 2022 FIFA World Cup predictions. This is done by uh, Vlogging Through History or Vlogging Through History Extra. Now, this gentleman here doesn't live too far away from me. He lives about a couple hours to the northeast of me, and uh, if you've ever never seen his Vlogging Through History channel, I do highly recommend it. It is very fascinating. He does a lot of reaction videos, and he gives a lot of information on past historical events. He's a Civil War buff, and he does a lot of videos. I highly recommend if you haven't seen his Vlogging Through History. He also does a Vlogging Through History Extra, which is what this is from, in which he talks about other things, which is outside of his normal historical channel. In fact, he mentioned on a video I saw that he's going to Little Bighorn, a place that I was actually at last year up in southeast Montana, and really enjoyed it up there. I know he is going to enjoy it as well. But this is his FIFA World Cup 2022 predictions, and I'm going to watch that and react to that and see what he says. Since this is right now, we're still over 7 months away from the World Cup, and I want to see reaction videos or FIFA World Cup 2022 predictions are right now the rage. So let's see what he thinks.
Welcome everybody to the very first content other than my intro video on this new channel, VTH Extra. Several of you have already suggested that I ought to do my thoughts.
And I'll put a link to this in the description below. And don't forget, I'm new at this, please hit like and subscribe, please, to my channel.
On the release today of the World Cup draw. We now know where most of the 32 teams that will be in the 2022.
By the way, he's also a West Brom fan and a fan of Rangers up in Celtic, and not Celtic, and up in Scotland. And so he does a video on explaining his allegiance to football club as well. So check that out as well. But I'll put the link to Vlogging Through History for this video. And like I said, check out his Vlogging Through History. Like and subscribe him as well. But like and subscribe me too.
FIFA World Cup are going to be playing their group stage. We're still waiting on a few things, but we'll talk about that as we get to it. So I thought I'd share my predictions not only for the group stages, but also my prediction for how the knockout stages are going to be, including who I think is going to win the World Cup.
Now, I did a similar reaction, but I didn't. I've done my own predictions as well, but I haven't gone as far as the round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, and final. Because, like I said, when it comes to predictions, we don't know who's even going to be there, at least in terms of some of the teams that haven't qualified yet, and in terms of some of the players who are going to get injured and have to pull out. So we don't know who's all going to be there to make those kind of determinations. We can just throw out our 2 cents. We'll probably do another updated one closer we get to the tournament when we know who's all going to be there in terms of players, who's going to pull out for injuries and that sort of thing.
So watch the video and then let me know in the comment section below what you agree with, what you think I got wrong, what your predictions are, and we will definitely be visiting this topic more as we get closer and closer to November and the start of what is going to be an exciting World Cup. Let's dive in. Okay, so what I have done is I've gone through with a World Cup group stage point simulator, and I've chosen who I think will win all the games and just put the score at 1-0 for each of those games. Granted, there are going to be some ties, and I'll even mention to you some of the games I think might end up as ties. But I did it this way just so I could easily pick who I think will get first and second in each of these group stage matches. And the way it works, if you're not familiar, is that the top 2 teams in each of the 8 groups will advance to the round of 16, the knockout stage, the single elimination tournament. The first place team from one group will play the second place team from another group. So A1 versus B2, B1 versus A2, etc. So we're going to start by looking at the groups and letting you know how I think they're going to finish out in the standings. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so in Group A, we have the Netherlands, Ecuador, Senegal, and the hosts, Qatar. And this group, the Netherlands is in really good shape here because what has happened here is they put 8 teams, the top 8 teams, well, the top 7 teams plus the host, go into what's called the Group 1, the first pool. And so this is the one group that doesn't have a true top 8 team in it because Qatar is the host. So the Netherlands lucked out here, I think. And so I think it's going to go this way. I think the Netherlands are going to get first place overall. I think Ecuador comes in second. I think Senegal beats Qatar, but nobody else. And then Qatar probably goes through the hosts without a single victory this time around. So that will advance the Netherlands.
This is, I said, I think I did when I did mine. Yeah, he is right. The Netherlands are somewhat fortunate with this draw, but Ecuador is a fun team to watch, and Senegal is going to be a decent team to watch as well. Qatar is very well managed, and I saw them play in the Gold Cup last year, and Qatar is a very professional club. I mean, this isn't. I don't think it's as straightforward as he seems to think it is. I'm not sure Qatar is going to finish below Senegal or even Ecuador. I think Qatar could actually be a surprise. I don't think I predicted Qatar to be a surprise, but I think they could be. This is I think a much more difficult group than it looks to on paper, but I still think the Netherlands are going to win the group.
Netherlands and Ecuador to round 2 or to the knockout rounds. B is a really interesting one, and this is the one I'm going to be watching because the 3 teams that I decided I was really pulling for the most in all of this are England, the United States, and Scotland. And Scotland could potentially be the team.
Scotland needs to beat Ukraine. That's the first thing that needs to happen. And assuming they beat Ukraine, then they have to play Wales and beat Wales to get into this group. Now, from a United States perspective, I think the first game is the cliche is the first game is the most important game. Well, in this situation, it's definitely because you're either going to be playing Ukraine, in which you will be the bad guy because everybody's going to be pulling for Ukraine. You're going to play Scotland, who is a decent club, but not as good as the United States, and the Wales, who I think the United States has played before. And without Gareth Bale, granted, they played Wales and pretty much dominated the game, but the game ended up 0-0. I think the United States would be better than all 3 of those teams, not by much. There aren't any easy games in the World Cup. But, this is the one I'm looking at more because I'm an American.
BD team here. We're still waiting for some tournaments to unfold, some playoff games. And so that 4th team could be Scotland, could be Wales, and it could be Ukraine. I think it's going to be Scotland, but I don't know, and honestly, it doesn't.
You hope it's going to be Scotland.
Doesn't matter to me. I think whoever it is going to finish 3rd. I think England wins this group. I think the USA comes in 2nd, though I think the USA could do really well here. The U.S. and England tied 1-1 in the World Cup. The last time, I think it was the last.
Yeah, Steven Gerrard, 2010, scored a goal at about 4-minute mark, and then Clint Dempsey scored a goal. Robert Green would like to forget that one. England probably felt they should have won that game, but keep in mind in tournament football, England and the United States, they've played 3 times the best I can tell in any tournament format. If there's any other, please let me know. But they played in the World Cup in 1950, World Cup in 2010. They also played in a tournament in the United States, the U.S. Cup in 1993, and the United States is 2 victories and 1 draw against England in that format. They beat England 2-0 in 1993.
Last time they were in a group together. But I think England pulls it out. In fact, I think England's one of my favorites to win it all. After their performance, going all the way to penalty kicks against Italy in the European Championship just last year, and I really thought England should have won that. I'm expecting big things, and I'm expecting them to come into this World Cup with.
That's why I'm not sure England's going to win it all, because they should have won that. There's been so many instances where England should have won and didn't.
Unfinished business and a chip on their shoulder, so I really expect England to do well. So England and USA advance, which means that Netherlands and USA will play each other, and England and Ecuador will be playing each other. Now on to Group C. I think Argentina's got this one. This is one that could be interesting. I think there are 3 teams here that have a chance to make their way out, and I could easily see Mexico making their way in instead of Poland, but I just feel like Robert Lewandowski.
Robert Lewandowski plays for Bayern Munich, and when he plays for Bayern Munich and he has all the service going to him, he's going to score a boatload of goals. He doesn't have that same situation with the Polish national team, although he did reasonably well in the Euros last year. Mexico historically has done well in the first round of a tournament, and they historically make it to the second round. This is really a pick-em, as I see it, between Poland and Mexico. I agree with them that Argentina is the class of this group. Saudi Arabia could make waves because they're actually playing at home, but every time you think of Saudi Arabia, every time I think of Saudi Arabia, I think of the 8-0 they had in Germany in 2002. Granted, that was 20 years ago, but this is going to be a very interesting group. But I believe I have Mexico going in second behind Argentina.
Is just one of the most prolific goal scorers of this generation, and I think he's going to find a way to get it done for Poland. But it's going to be really fun to watch these matchups, especially Messi versus Lewandowski. I'm going to enjoy that one a lot. Mexico could. In fact, originally I thought Mexico and Poland might tie in their game, which then would put it down to tiebreakers, and it was too complicated to mess with all that. So I'm going to go with Argentina and Poland. That's a bit of an upset. Mexico is a top 10 in the world team. Poland's not nearly ranked that high.
I don't know how much stake I would put in the top 10 of the rankings that FIFA throws out there. Okay, FIFA has done these rankings for years, and I remember going to the 2006 World Cup. The United States, I think, was ranked 4th in the world. And they finished last in their group against Italy, Czech Republic, and Ghana. And they were the only team that drew. Okay, I mean, technically speaking, France drew with Italy in the final, but Italy won on penalty kicks. But they were the only team that took points off of Italy in that first in the first round. But like I said, I don't put a whole lot of stock in the FIFA rankings.
High, but I think I'm going to lean a little heavily on Europe on some of these, I think. France and Denmark. France, the defending World Cup champions, bringing back a lot of that same team, though I don't know that they're quite as formidable as they were then. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm not expecting France to make it even to the top 4 this year, but we'll see. France and then Denmark. Again, the to be determined here, I believe, is Australia. I think there's a team from South America in that, and then it's like the UAE.
Yeah, Australia, the UAE, and Peru are the 3 teams that could be that third position that he has right there. Australia is a decent club, but I would have expected them to qualify already, but they haven't. UAE, they're going to be determined, and Peru is a decent South American side, not a great South American side, but I agree with him. France and Denmark. I think the biggest problem with France is themselves, but the French, to me, are one of my top 3 teams, and I think they go far depending on who they have to play, because look, you still have Mbappe, who is a speed merchant and is scoring goals for fun for PSG, and is probably going to line up at Real Madrid next year. I don't see him signing another contract with Paris Saint-Germain, and we'll see how it all plays out.
Honestly, I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot.
And Karim Benzema can also score a lot of goals for France too. Paul Pogba seems to play a hell of a lot better in the French uniform than he does for Manchester United.
Expect France and Denmark to make their way out of that group. So that's going to bring us then to France playing against Poland in one bracket, and then Argentina against Denmark. And we're going to get to the knockout stages here shortly. All right, this one, Germany, even though they're not quite the Germany that won the World Cup a few World Cups back, I still expect them to do really well, and this might be a little bit of an upset too, picking them to win this group over Spain. But this is probably about as close to a group of death as you can get. This time around, Japan's a solid team for a third-place team. I just don't think they have enough to overcome Germany and Spain, though. And I honestly don't even remember who the to-be-determined teams are in this group. But
the to-be-determined teams are Costa Rica and New Zealand, and I think Costa Rica is going to be the 4th team in this group. And he's right about Japan. Japan is a solid club, and they give they're going to give a good accounting of themselves. But I think it's a little bit too much to ask to go past Spain and Germany. I mean, Germany was in the second pot. Spain is going to dominate the possession. When you play against Spain, you're probably giving them 70% of the possession. are they going to be able to score goals? Now, it's a fair decision, in my opinion, to pick Germany over Spain in this, but I have Spain in the first and second first position over Germany. But it's a fair thought that Germany might be number one over Spain.
I still expect that Germany and Spain come out of this group. I could easily see that one, though, flipping the other way with Spain winning and then Germany being second. And who knows what Japan might do. All right, Belgium got to be one of the favorites in this tournament. They, up until just a short time ago, I think were still the number one team in the world. I think they've dropped to number 2 now.
Again, I don't put a whole lot of stock in that FIFA World Rankings, but he is right about Belgium. This is probably I think the last go for the golden generation of Belgium. They have had a lot of great players. Kevin De Bruyne just comes the first person that comes to mind. Now, don't overlook Canada. Canada is going to be a dangerous team in this group, and Morocco is a very decent African side. So, but Belgium and Croatia are the two class teams in this group. Luka Modric is still a great player even at his advanced age, but I think I had Canada over Croatia in my picks. I had Belgium number 1. Belgium, again, still a great team, but still a very, very. This is a pretty underrated group, in my opinion. This should be some very good games here.
Croatia, really strong performance in the last World Cup. I think they made the top 4, if I remember right.
They made it to the final. They lost to France 4-2.
In the last World Cup can never be discounted when you have a guy like Luka Modric on your team. But in Canada, Canada was probably one of the stronger. They won the CONCACAF qualifying. They finished ahead of both the United States and Mexico.
And that's really, look, in CONCACAF, as long as you're top 3, third place is as good as first place in CONCACAF the way it's set up. But nobody had Canada there at first place. He is right about that. The most impressive thing about Canada is that Canada did not lose to the United States and Mexico. They beat both the United States and Mexico at their place up in Canada, and then went down to the United States and drew 1-1, and I believe they drew 1-1 with Mexico. That was what was more impressive about Canada. They can finish first place, second place, third place. I didn't care where the United States finished as long as they qualified, which they did. But the more impressive thing about Canada is the fact that because Canada's been a team that has never even made it to the hex in previous World Cup cycles. This time they actually made it not only to the hex, the octagonal this time. They finished first place. A very, very impressive feat.
Who are 2 top 10 in the world teams right now, or nearly so. In fact, let's take a look at the world rankings real quick. Here are the current world rankings.
And again, take this with a grain of salt when you look at that. Italy is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Italy's in 6th place. Italy didn't even qualify for the World Cup. Their second World Cup in a row that they haven't qualified. Yes, they won the Euros, but they haven't qualified for the World Cup for the second go around. And believe you me, that's not going over too well in Italy right now.
As I mentioned, Belgium just dropped. So you've got Brazil, the number 1 team in the world right now. Belgium, number 2. France, defending World Cup champs, sitting at 3rd. Argentina at 4th with Leo Messi.
Mexico has not been very impressive in World Cup qualifying, and yet you have them at 9th right there. I mean, look, I'm already looking at these things. I'd probably put Argentina in front of ahead of Belgium. I'd probably put France in front of Belgium. But I wouldn't put England ahead of Belgium. I'd probably put Spain ahead of Belgium too.
England at 5th right now. Italy at 6th, but they are not in the World Cup. They did not make it. So Spain, and they've dropped a lot recently. Spain sitting at number 7. Portugal all the way up there at 8. Mexico at 9. Actually, the U.S. is further down than I realized they were. The Netherlands are 10th.
Yeah, like I said, take this with a grain of salt. I've never believed the FIFA World Cup, FIFA World Rankings. It's not like in America with the college football or college basketball rankings, where those are a little bit more easy to believe. These are, take it with a grain of salt. Don't base your predictions off of this.
Denmark at 11, Germany 12, Uruguay at 13, Switzerland 14, USA 15, Croatia 16. So that gives you a little bit better idea. So I think Belgium and Croatia come out of this group. Canada, I think, is probably going to be the odd man out there. So where's that put things? That puts Belgium up against Spain in the knockout stage and Germany against Croatia. That's going to be a really interesting matchup. Both of those will be. Group G. Brazil, number one team in the world. No doubt for me they're going to win this group.
Yeah, I think Brazil is going to win this group as well. Brazil is, in my opinion, the best team in the world right now. Doesn't mean they can't be had, but I would have Brazil above at winning this group. It's between Cameroon. They don't quit. If you saw them how they qualified in the World Cup, how they beat Algeria, Cameroon is a very, very difficult team, and you shouldn't overlook. A lot of people think this is the group of death. Switzerland, a fantastic team that knocked France out of the Euros, and Serbia is another, one of those Eastern European clubs. Really, really, really good team. I like this group. This game will be fun to watch. But Brazil and Serbia, that's a fair choice there.
Serbia, I think, will probably be second. And then Switzerland, who's a really solid team, and I could see them making it out of this group, finishing second at the cost of Serbia making it. But my gut says Brazil and Serbia make it in this group. And then that leaves Group H with.
And keep in mind, the only reason Portugal was in Group Pot 1 is because Italy didn't qualify for the World Cup.
Uruguay, one of the top teams in the world again, and so is Portugal. This is a strong group too. But I just think that Uruguay and Portugal are just way too strong for any of these other, for Ghana or the Korea Republic to make.
Don't overlook Ghana there. Ghana's made it to the second round of the World Cup in 2006. They made it there in 2010, almost made. The big game is going to be Ghana versus Uruguay because of what happened in 2010 when Luis Suarez thought he was a goalkeeper and handballed the shot, the ball off the line and got red carded. Ghana missed the penalty kick, and Uruguay ended up going through the semifinals. But don't overlook Ghana. Don't overlook South Korea. South Korea is going to be a tough team to beat. South Korea beat Germany in the last World Cup, if you remember. Now, I don't base things off of the last World Cup, but this is a very, very difficult group. Now, he has Uruguay in 1, Portugal number 2, and that's fair. I could see Uruguay finishing first in this group, but this will be an interesting group to see. I don't have a problem with how he has it set up there.
Make it out. So that gives us Uruguay versus Serbia and Brazil versus Portugal, the two Portuguese-speaking nations going up against each other in the knockout stage. So let's talk about the knockout stage. Okay, so here we go. We're looking at our bracket now.
Now he has Netherlands versus the United States. Last time the Netherlands and the United States played, it was a friendly back, I think, in 2015, and the United States, it was in the Netherlands, and the United States won 4-3.
And I've got it drawn a little differently than what you saw over here on this page, but it makes it a little easier for me to kind of show who I think is going to advance in each one. Love my country. I still think we're at least 4 years away from a legit chance to compete. I think this young USA team led by guys like McKinney and Pulisic and others just needs one more. And when we're hosting in 4 years, I think the U.S. can make a run. But for now, I just think the Netherlands.
This is not a great Dutch team. And the United States could beat the Netherlands. It would not shock me if the United States beats the Netherlands. But if he thinks the Netherlands are going to, this is his video. If he thinks the Netherlands are going to go through, good on him.
This is going to be too strong for the USA in that one. Argentina and Denmark. Argentina's tough. I think they're going to pull that one out.
Don't overlook Denmark in that. Don't overlook Christian Eriksen, who now appears to be back playing at a high level. It would not surprise me if Denmark were to win that game, but I would also pick Argentina. That would be that's going to be if that turns out to be what it is, that should be an outstanding game.
You're going to see, I think Europe and South America are going to dominate this thing, but I think really that one comes down to Argentina in that case. Germany and Croatia is going to be a fantastic match. Croatia had a great run in the last tournament. I think Germany.
That's the safe pick there. But don't be surprised if Croatia wins that game. The Germans have Hansi Flick as their manager, who's a much better manager, in my opinion, than Jogi Löw. But Germany, okay.
Comes out of this one, even though Germany's kind of down compared to where it's been from the heyday when they destroyed Brazil in the World Cup not so long ago. And speaking of Brazil, I think we're going to get a rematch, and man, what a story that one.
I would pick Brazil over Portugal in that as well. I think Brazil's too strong.
It's going to be when you get to the round of 8 and you've got Germany versus Brazil, the rematch after Germany destroyed, I think it was 7-1, something like that. They beat Brazil.
It was 7-1.
In a World Cup not too many years ago. And that was such a huge thing at the time. Sorry, Ronaldo, your run ends. It's just not going to happen for you. Not up
Well, you won the Euros in 2016. It's not like you haven't won a trophy with Portugal.
Against Brazil. England and Ecuador. I already mentioned I think England is one of my favorites to win the whole thing.
England is traditionally strong against the South American squad, so I would take England there as well.
So I think they got a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to come in ready to play, and that's going to set up a big showdown with the defending World Cup champions, the French. That's going to be an all-time epic game. Germany.
If you listen to the British press, they already have that game already set up. They think it's a foregone conclusion that England's going to win a group and go right on through, and that their first real test is going to come against the French.
Brazil, England, France, huge matchups. I cannot wait to see those actually unfold. Belgium and Spain is an interesting one, but I think Belgium is just too strong.
I'm not so sure about that. The Spanish are going to outpossess the Belgians, but the problem with the Spanish, they just aren't scoring a lot of goals now. But if he thinks Belgium, fine. That's not a bad pick. That's going to be a tougher game. But like I said, the Spanish and their possession game is going to be it's going to be an interesting game if that's how it turns out.
I think they beat Spain, but I think it's a close game. And then Uruguay and Serbia, I think Uruguay is going to win that one.
Again, don't overlook Serbia in that. But Uruguay. He's got Netherlands. He's got Netherlands versus Argentina. They played in the final of the 1978 World Cup, but the most recent one that I remember is the 1998 World Cup, when Dennis Bergkamp scored that brilliant goal and beat Argentina 2-1. He's got Germany versus Brazil. We know what happened in World Cup 2014 on Brazilian soil, 7-1. England versus France, neighboring countries, and Belgium versus Uruguay. He's got 3 South American teams and 5 European teams.
I think.
Although I should have figured that out. There's 8, and I counted 3 South American teams. Okay, math is not my strong point.
Convincingly in that one. So that sets up a final 8 of the Netherlands, Argentina, Germany, Brazil, England, France, Belgium, and Uruguay. So even at this stage, we're already down to just Europe and South America. The North American countries, USA was the only one I had coming out of CONCACAF anyway. We have no Asian teams that are left in this thing. So I think that's how it's going to shake out, honestly. Netherlands and Argentina is going to be a really interesting.
I'm going to give mine before I listen to him. I would, if I was picking this, I would have. This is not a strong Dutch team, so I would have Argentina going through there. Germany versus Brazil. Again, Hansi Flick is a better manager than Jogi Löw, but this is a better Brazilian team. And assuming they have all their players and are flying at all cylinders, you'd have a Brazil-Argentina semifinal. And England versus France. As good as England is, France is a little bit better. I would have France there, and I would have France. It would have to be a rematch of, I think, the World Cup semifinal of 2018. I would have France versus Belgium based on what he has here.
Matchup. My head says Netherlands, but my heart kind of wants to see Messi make a deep run in this tournament. I think Argentina's going to win that one. I really do. It's going to be interesting. Brazil and Germany, again, I think my heart kind of wants Germany in that one. I think Brazil's just too tough. And boy, Brazil-Argentina in the semifinal, holy cow, what a huge, huge game that'll be. England and France, like I said, another huge one. I think England wins it this time. I think they got more to play for. France is the defending champs. I think England wants this more than France does this time around. Belgium and Uruguay is going to be an interesting one, but I think Belgium takes it. So we're going to have South America in one bracket versus Europe in the other.
And in this one, Brazil versus Argentina. They played each other so many times. The last time they played each other, apart from World Cup qualifying, was the final of the Copa America, and Argentina. Messi finally won his trophy. Do I see Messi making it to a final over this Brazilian team? I think I'd take Brazil, and I think I would actually take Belgium to make it. Look, see, I don't have England beating France. I have France versus Belgium based on what he's got here, and I would have I would have a rematch of the 1998 World Cup, the final Brazil. I would have Brazil versus France, and with Brazil winning, even though the French team would certainly be capable of winning that 2 World Cups in a row. Would not surprise me in the least if that happened. But he's got England versus Belgium and Argentina versus Brazil, and I'd like to see Messi make it to the final. Now, the third place, if it was Argentina versus Belgium, I would take Argentina to win that one, to finish in third place. But, we'll see what he wants, what he does.
At this point, boy, this is going to be interesting. I'd love to see Messi make a final, but I just think Brazil's too tough. I think Brazil's too hard, too tough. They're the number 1 team in the world for a reason. Belgium's the number 2 team in the world, but I just don't think they get past England.
He has a lot more faith in England than I do. I can tell you that much. He has a lot more faith in them.
I think we end up with England and Brazil in the final.
You can go with your heart and your head. If you go with your heart, you're going to take England. If you go with your head, you should take Brazil.
And I think in a very close, tough, contested tournament, England wins it all. The 3 Lions, baby. With, let's say, it's going to be Jack Grealish scoring the winning goal late in that one. I think that's how that one's going to go down. Let me know your thoughts. Use the comment section below. Please hit
Jack Grealish scoring the winning goal in the World Cup final. That will be the day. But okay, look, if you're an English fan, you can, he just crowned you World Cup champions. In my opinion, the only place England becomes a World Cup champion in 2022 is on your FIFA console, is on your game consoles on the FIFA 2022. But if he's got you winning it, but if you see that over on my, he has how he became a West Brom supporter. Like I said, this guy, Vlogging Through History is a great channel. He does a lot of great content, a lot of historical information, and he makes it very, very entertaining. I highly recommend it, and I enjoyed this. This was fun.
Hit that like button if you want to see more stuff like this, trying to get this channel off the ground. Let me know what other things you'd love to see me cover. It's not just going to be sports. We're going to do all kinds of stuff on this channel, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, like and subscribe to Vlogging Through History Extra, and like and subscribe for my channel as well, Scott Dova's Interesting World. I would really appreciate it. But thanks. This was fun. This was enjoyable.